Okay, everybody, I want to talk to you about heating these units. Um, if you have a warm room, reptile room, or whatever, where you can have your room temperature um, at what you want it to be, which typically for most ants is around 85 degrees, but quite a few species like it warmer, and some need it cooler, and some need a diapause. But anyway, if your ants are cranking and you want to give them some heat and maximize the way they grow, allowing them to thermoregulate really makes a difference. So here's what we've come up with. We've designed these to be used specifically with the Zoomed Repti Heat Cable. This is a low wattage heat cable that's kind of bomb proof because they're set up to not get super hot. Like, you can typically run them without a thermostat, though we don't recommend it. I've tested them without thermostats in these units, and at room temperature, I haven't cooked any ants because the ants can get far away enough from the heat. So let me show you, give you an example. Here's a unit right now. This is a queen that we collected about 2 weeks ago in Ocotillo at our desert property. This is a Veromessa purgandii, and if you look closely, I don't know if you can see it or not, but right where she is, she's got a pile of eggs. They're kind of hard to see in off color, but I think right where her head is there, she's kind of trying to protect them and guard them. So anyway, we've designed this to work with the heat cable that runs under it. In our rack system, it's very simple because the rack has a recess for the cable, so we don't have to worry about this sitting on top of the cable. A lot of people put legs on various ant nests in order to get them up above the cable, but things can move around a lot. And so what we have done is designed this to be used with a rack in most cases, but if somebody wants to use this on a table with a heat cable, here's how you do it. Here is the Zoomed heat cable, and so you can see this is the cable that runs, and obviously if we try to put this on here, we got problems because it doesn't fit nicely. So what I've done in the bottom of this, the tube connector, I've built in these notches. So if you look here again, you can see that this is a typical setup where you fill the water up about halfway, and so when it's filled halfway with water or so, if we use this cutout right here, that puts our heat source right in the middle. And I guarantee you, if you do this on a table, you will see the queen put her eggs right here on top of the heat cable, depending on the temperature. But like with these purgandii, I can get this about 86, 88, even 90 degrees, and she'll keep putting them right on top of the heat. So you can adjust your heat with a thermostat or rheostat till it's warm enough where they start moving them off of it. Then you know that you've reached their optimum temperature that they want their eggs to be at. So, but in 90% of the cases, you're going to want to use this cutout right here. But we have cutouts and sections for various setups, because maybe if you put your heat back here a little more, you're going to get more humidity generated. If you put it under the water, you'll turn this into a little steam room. And then the size of the gate is also going to control the humidity. The size of the hole in the gate is going to control the amount of humidity inside the tube. So how do we make this work when it's designed for the rack if we want to use it on a table? Okay, so you got to do a little work here, but it's not difficult. I've made these notches strong enough so that you can't see any kind of a mark here where the notches are on the outside, but they're thin enough that we can cut them out of there if we need to. So you've got to use a nice sharp box knife. Please don't use a pair of dikes, because if you snap this here, you could crack the whole unit. So we're going to have to whittle this out, and bear with me because I'm doing this by myself with my cell phone on a little magnetic mount. So I'll try to do this so you can get the best angle. But we're just going to follow these cut lines and just slowly notch this thing out. Gotta have a sharp blade. And we're just gonna whittle it out to fit that opening. Same thing with the middle one. Middle one is very thin because we don't have any visibility to the outside. I tried to make the outside ones thinner, but you could actually see the marks on the outside where the notches were, and I didn't like that, so we thickened them up a little bit. So here we go on that one. Then one more on this side. Okay, so there we go. Now we have to double check, see if our cable fits in there. Cable fits in there nicely. So there we go. Now we can use this on a table, and you could line up, you know, a bunch of them across the table with the heat cable underneath. And what happens, and the reason I have these cross pieces, is this cable is going to isolate this heat into this section right here. So you'll have a nice hot spot right here, and then it'll be cool going that way and cool going that way. And like I said, I've tested this without any kind of temperature control, and at room temperature it never gets hot enough to cook any ants. You'll find them evacuate this area and move to the outworld if it gets too hot. But we have ventilation in the front of the outworld. Behind here, we've got some venting, and it does find room temperature. But now if your room got up to 90 degrees, you'd probably be in trouble. So that's why we recommend a thermostat, rheostat, or temperature controller. We like the dimming controllers. Zoomed makes a nice dimming temperature controller that goes with this unit. And then there's some high-end stuff. We really like the Herpstat stuff, because it can send you an email if you have any issues with temperature in your room or something doesn't shut off, and it will do a great job for you. But anyway, yeah, so that's how we use a heat cable and modify these units to work with heat. But once you see the rack, you're gonna want to just use that system. But if you only have one or you know, a couple of units, and you need to provide heat because your room isn't warm enough, then this is our solution for you. See you next time.